So, welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Susie Ramroop, and I am a recently published author of the best-selling book, actually it's not called How To, it's called Be the Leader You Want to See. Why I'm here today is really the reason I wrote the book, which is that when I was at this conference, it was the Women in Sport conference, and I was speaking on how to win your inner game, as in the game in your head. So it was a mindset talk because I'm a mindset coach. And I kept hearing this phrase that I've never heard before, and this is how it made me feel. I was totally agitated. Something in me just didn't sit right, and I got that really abrasive feeling between my head and my stomach. And I didn't quite comprehend what it meant at the time, but I knew it was signaling that something had to change and I had to take action. And the statement that I heard was, "You can't be what you can't see." Those words repelled me to such a degree that I felt I had to do something. And at the time, I didn't know what that thing was. And it turned out that the thing was to write this book. I hope you can see, because I can't see the image. And really what I'm here today to do is to stop you being stopped by beliefs like that. Maybe you're waiting for the right opportunity to come along. Maybe you're waiting for an invitation to the job of your dreams. Maybe you're waiting for a role model, someone else to be in the boardroom that looks a bit like you before you'll make your move there. There's a theme here, and it's waiting. And so the reason I wrote the book, the reason I'm here today, is to stop you doing that, is to get you out of your own way. And I have a model that I've written in the book that I am going to give you the very high level of today, but I'm going to go deep into one of the steps. I'm going to talk approximately for maybe 30 minutes. I do have form in overrunning, but my intention is to speak to you for 30 minutes. And I'm doing that so you can ask questions at the end. So I'm going to show you one alternative today, and I'm going to give you the chance to learn more. There is something that you might want to stick around for near the end. So who am I? If you haven't come across me before, how I answer this question is how maybe a child would answer it. They wouldn't tell you what their job title was and what their role in life was. They would tell you words that describe who they are. This is me. I'm insightful. I'm energetic. I'm creative. Sometimes that manifests in floral design. Sometimes that is in how I go about solving problems and giving examples and telling stories. I'm brave and I'm kind. Underpinning everything I do is kindness. Sometimes I have to remind myself to do it, but I'm ultimately kind. And where I'm at my best is in this place. This picture of a forest sums up where I feel at my most free, where I am flourishing, where I feel good. And so lockdown for me, as I'm sure lockdown has been for you in potentially a different way, has been somewhat stifling. So remaining this person when I haven't been allowed to leave the house, or I have had to change fundamentally how I show up and how I operate, has been challenging, but it's also brought opportunities. And that's how I want you to look at this today. I can't be in a forest with you today. I can't be on a stage being energetic and dramatic and telling stories like I love to do. But I'm hoping to exercise some of who I am and show you who I am with questions and answers. So what I love about speaking is the unpredictable nature of what comes out of my mouth. I am not someone that likes to prepare deeply and write slides and, have it all rehearsed in advance. That is not my best self, because as you can see, I'm insightful, I'm energetic, I'm creative. So what I like to do is be asked a question, and on the fly, obviously it's based on my experience and who I am, but that's how I like to respond, and that's how you will get the best value from me. So if you have any questions and you want any answers today, Do not fall into that waiting circle. Take charge now and start to put in the Q&A box anything that you want me to answer. My intention is that I will answer as many as possible as soon as I finish with the slides. If I don't get to them, make sure you ask me via LinkedIn. I will give you my details at the end, and that way everyone can benefit from the answer. So somehow those questions will get answered, but ideally they'll get answered live today. So today's agenda is really to identify, where are you right now? You know, feelings, operating mode, how are you showing up right now? I'm going to offer you some coaching questions, which I do throughout the book, but these are different questions, so it doesn't matter if you've read the book or not. And they're going to unlock some new thinking for you. You might want to write them down, feel free to screenshot them or go back to them when you get the recording. But really explore what the answers are for you. Don't think, oh, this is a quick exercise, I'll answer it. I want you to go, and really ponder it, whether you do that live with me today or not. Sometimes I'll give you time to do that, sometimes I won't. I'm going to illustrate the ABC model, which is what the book is based around, and effectively what I'll be doing at the end in answer to your questions is speed mentoring. The reason I call it that is because it's not going to be interactive. There's no coaching questions in that moment, but I will package it up in a way that other people will benefit from the answer to that question. So where are you now? If you're anything like me, you don't want to go back to normal. What is normal anymore? The world has changed. And actually, I see that as a good thing. I see it as a chance to bring me new opportunities to do things. Yes, I can't speak on stages at the moment, but I get to meet people virtually. Maybe you're on here today and you wouldn't have made it to a stage if this was in person. That is an opportunity. So I don't want to just survive this time. I want to mine this time so that I can emerge stronger. And the reality, though, is that some of the things that we've missed have made us a bit apprehensive. Yes, I've missed social times, as I'm sure you have, but actually it's made me quite apprehensive now about re-entering the world. It's understandable. So picture this. The world that you're going back into is not already formed. The world that you're going back into need not look like the world we left on the 23rd of March. It need not be filled in and coloured in by other people who have all the pencils. If you look at the world that we are re-entering now as something that is up for grabs, it's a blank canvas. You can put anything you want on it. There are no precedents anymore. You get to choose, whether that is leadership at work, leadership in your home life, leadership wherever. You decide what your future is going to look like. But I have to tell you that lockdown was just a magnifying glass for what was there already. So if you were overweight before, you're probably really overweight now. If you had relationship problems before, you probably got worse ones now. You know, this is the truth about what has happened in lockdown. And I just said you could choose, but the question is, will you? Or will you continue to wait? Just like I said at the beginning, waiting for other women to go first, waiting for role models to emerge before you make your move. The reality is, we know what to do quite often, but we don't do it. It's not a knowledge gap, it's an implementation gap. Why? Here's the truth. Many women want to be leaders, or they're leaders already and they want to be better leaders, and they want to feel like they're in charge, but they don't think they're good enough. So they being you, have these aspirations of maybe I'd like to be there, and then you go, oh, nah, maybe not, maybe I'm not good enough. And you to fit your current circumstances. So there's that blank canvas waiting for your choices to be painted upon it. And instead, you're potentially distracted by what you believe you have to tolerate now. People in this position then go about trying to close the gap. Okay, I'm not X enough, I'd better do a course on X. I'm not Y enough, so I'd better go and buy a book on Y. Not that I'm putting people off buying books, of course, because mine's really good. But The point is, there is nothing wrong with you. The difference between my book and other books is that it's not saying, here's what you need to fix. You're not broken. The problem is you're sitting on a gold mine of talent and you're not seeing it, and you're definitely not using it to its fullest potential. And the questions that I'm going to ask of you today, and hopefully the ones that you will return to me, are going to unlock that gold mine. The gap does not exist outside of us. It's in the things that we're aware of that we already have, and based on that awareness, the actions that we take. Working harder, the same things that we've always done, is not the way forward. Marshall Goldsmith wrote a book with this title, What Got Us Here, actually I think it's What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So, you know, something that might have served you brilliantly up until this point, but the world's incredibly different now to it was 3-4 months ago or at the end of last year. We knew somehow 2020 was going to be different and somehow shift us into something greater. Some of us who follow certain people might have expected some form of challenge, but did we expect this one? Now, the benefit, I think, of this time having taken it out of our hands is that it's just up for grabs. See that as a blank canvas. See that as something you can now choose differently about, rather than feeling done to by this evil virus that's taken our social life away. So how do you be that leader? How do you be the leader that you want to see? The leader that you have your eyes upon might be a specific person. Maybe you're watching someone's career who you believe is a mentor and you're thinking, I can't believe that person hasn't got that job yet. Or you're waiting for that person to get that job and you're going, well, when I see that person get the job, then I'll know that it's possible for me too. What if you're that person that everyone else is waiting for? What if you're the person people need to go first? The questions that I'm going to ask you today will hopefully show you, as I've just implied, that it isn't about you learning something new or you closing a gap that you believe you have. This is just about showing up with what you've already got. The problem is you haven't got awareness of what that is. You're not looking at it like it's a gold mine of talent. You're looking at it as your baggage potentially that you've been carrying around, but it's more like the chest of gold and treasure that you have got with you at all times. So the key is to get aware. Now, if you are someone that has been working incredibly hard, but not seeing the results that you want, this is potentially why. Because you're taking brave steps, but they're not based on the awareness that you've already got. Maybe they're on the basis of comparison to something else. Maybe you've read an article and you think, okay, that's what I need to be more of. That awful expression, fake it till you make it, is based on this. It's based on no self-awareness, but a single belief that other people have got it nailed and you haven't. So the reason I like this model is because the more aware you get, the more relevant your bravery is, which means the tiny, tiny steps of bravery might be a slight stretch for you, but they're not even noticeable to other people. It's only when you go round this loop multiple times that other people start to go, wow, she's really brave. I, for example, am a classic example. I told you earlier that I am brave. That is a habit I've developed, nothing more. How have I done it? Well, I get aware of who I am and something that's powerful about me. And then I go about testing it out. I go about going, well, I wonder if I went and asked that person whether this could happen. It happened. Okay. So on the basis of that, then it means that people are willing to hear me out. Okay. Well, if they're willing to hear me out, that means creates new awareness. Maybe this is possible. That sounds a bit scary. I tell you what, I'm going to make it a really gentle step and I'm going to ask and see what happens. And then I brace myself for rejection, silence. So what, really? If someone ignores an action that you've taken, you'll be so busy doing this, patting yourself on the back, It doesn't really matter about the outcome. That's how you get detached from the impact that it's going to make. And you can just focus on getting more aware of what you've already got and applying it more bravely towards what you already want. And this is really the model that is in the book. Awareness, bravery, and contribution in sequential, repetitive steps ultimately brings consistency. That's how you start to exhibit a shadow of a leader, where someone knows that it doesn't matter what's happening in the world, you are stable, you are a force for good, and you are in forwards motion, purely based on this model. So I'm going to take you through, I'm going to talk for another 15 minutes, I reckon. So I hope if you haven't asked a question yet, put one in the Q&A function, because we don't want to get to that point at the end where there's that awkward moment when I go, shall I just end the webinar then? And you're busy typing in your question. Don't do that, you'll miss out. So awareness then. Question, write this answer down. What do you say you'll do that you always honour? This is one of the few times that I am going to use the words always and never. It's a helpful way to highlight where you are unshakable. So what do you say you'll do that you always honour? Is it that you're always on time? Is it that when you say no, you never change it to a yes? Is it that when you say you're only going to have one glass of wine, you have one glass of wine? Don't count lockdown for the answer to that question. And conversely, what do you say you'll do that you never do? You never keep your word. Yeah, I'm going to start that diet tomorrow. I'm going to go running every day from now on. I'm only having wine at the weekends. You'll see a theme here. This is sort of reflective of my own life. Eliminating times when you say you'll do something and you don't is a key point of awareness. If you have a track record of saying you'll do something and you won't, chances are that, and you don't, chances are that's for you. So as women, quite often, the things that we do, that we say we'll do, are things that involve other people. Our people-pleasing muscle kicks in and we go, I can't let them down. Even though I don't want to do it and it's inconvenient, I'm going to do it because I said I would. That people-pleasing muscle is phenomenally productive. Not necessarily healthy, but it serves us in some small way, which is why, as women, we quite often continue to flex it. The problem with that muscle, prop time, is that it's outwards. It's pleasing that person and that person and that person. Actually, what I want you to do with those efforts is turn them inwards. Because chances are the second question is exposing that the times that you let someone down, it's always you. Think about that for a moment. Are the things that you say you'll do, but you actually don't do, are they for you? Are you at the bottom of your to-do list? Because here's the thing, until you lead yourself, you cannot effectively lead others. Why? Because it creates this soundtrack of distrust. You know deep down that you don't keep your word. And if you don't keep it for yourself, you are unlikely to be trustworthy to yourself and other people. That means, for example, if you sign up to a course, you won't give yourself credit for ever finishing it. You'll start reading 4 books and never finish any of them. Finishing what you start is such a powerful thing to do to build your self-trust muscle. So whether you answered those questions or not, just keep in mind what I said, that more often than not, the people we let down are ourselves, rarely other people. So you might just be having a word with yourself at this point and go, why am I stuck? Why do I keep doing that? Well, I've given you part of the explanation, but I want to remind you of what I said at the beginning. Your canvas is blank. You can choose to fill it with whatever you want, but will you? And this is a quote from my book. Patterns are not something we fall into. We might tell ourselves we do, but we don't. They're something we choose when we've got nothing better to focus on. So in other words, in the absence of you making a choice for what goes on that canvas, you're just going to settle for what everyone else puts on it. And then guess what? You'll end up resentful about that some months, weeks down the line. So the cost to you is too much. So how do we rectify this? Well, if you think about the two questions I just asked you, and you're people pleasing, and you have a job, and you have accountability in that job, it's because you're treating life like your two personas. So you have this person that you are at home and this person that you are at work. I, for example, was super organized, productive, never late at work. And then I had a baby, and at home, it seemed like I had absolutely no capacity to get anywhere on time with exactly what I needed in the bag in any one moment. And it creates this chaotic sort of pulling and pushing in our bodies, in our brains, where we're confused about who we are in any given moment. So the key to leadership and the key to happiness is to bring all of that together. And given that we're talking about leadership and you're probably here with careers in mind, it means bringing all of that to work. It means not segmenting part of yourself for relevance in one context and the other relevance in a different context. It's about bringing all of who you are to work. Why? Because the gold mine of talent is not split by, oh, that's a work one, oh, that's a personal one, oh, that's a fitness one, oh, that's a spiritual one. It's just your gold mine of talent. The whole thing is relevant to everything. So don't waste it. The key to it is getting clear on what you want and why. So the quote I just put up about patterns, we only fall into patterns when we haven't chosen where to put our focus. So that's why we've got to be really, really clear on what we want and why we want it. Because chances are when you want something only for you, you'll do what I just suggested in that other question and you'll talk yourself out of it. If you're making the impact that you have about other people, your people-pleasing muscle will stop you from not delivering on that thing. And that's how you may make a greater impact. So it's important to understand your patterns and how they stop you. And, you know, some of the patterns in this book are judgment, comparison, imposter syndrome, busyness. All of those things are distractions. They're patterns that we are falling into because we haven't chosen what to paint on our canvas. And quite frankly, there's no fire under you. So it's time to get really honest in answer to those questions and the ones that are coming up. Be really honest. You know, no one's looking at your notepad right now. So just be honest with yourself about what it is you are going to do when you say you're going to do it. And that's how you'll get clear. Get rid of the stuff that you have no intention of honouring. Stop being polite to people because you think you'll appease them and get them off your case. You won't. You'll just have that in-between energy that you're left with because you haven't made a clear decision either way. And ultimately, if you have no urgency, then you're not going to shift anything in your leadership. Where you are right now is probably not where you want to be, which is why you're here. It doesn't mean to say that where you are is bad, but you know you're capable of more, right? You know you're capable of more. And so when you have an idea of the impact, the contribution that that can make to other people who, don't forget, they're waiting for you, just like you've been waiting. And they're looking at you going, I don't get it. She's really good at what she does. She's working really hard. Why is she not getting there? This is the answer. Because you're wasting time being dishonest with yourself. That's muddying your view of the world and fogging up your lenses. I bet you thought I was going to say a different F word there. fogging up your lenses. And you're not lighting a fire under yourself. So that fire can come in the form of the clarity and the impact that you're going to make for other people. So the fire is, you're not going to let other people down. You're not going to let all those people looking at you as the next leader to follow and choosing confusion because they don't get why you're not there yet. And it's accountability. Investing in accountability is something that's critical to success in whatever form that takes. Once you've got awareness nailed, hopefully I've shaken you a bit now. This is exactly what I do in my book. I shake you up a bit to make it just look so unpalatable to continue as you are, that you have, that is the fire that I've just talked about, that you now go, right, I'm up for it. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to be brave. Bravery for me, just FYI, is not about terror. It's not about scaring the living daylights out of you. It is about nervous excitement. It's that, can I? Whoa, could I? Maybe I could feeling. It's not the terrors and the absolute fear that will keep you stationary. But it's about things like the agitation that I talked about, which has got me here today. What can you no longer keep quiet about? What are you observing in the workplace or in your home or at your sports club and going, do you know what, that's not okay with me? It doesn't mean you have to have a massive conflict about it, but it does mean you need to be honest. That honesty will bring clarity, whether it's slightly tough to hear or not. And that is what's going to create the urgency for change. So what can you no longer keep quiet about? If you're honest with yourself, are you operating at the edge of your comfort zone every single day? Because if you're not, you won't get that nervous excitement feeling, which is the emotion I tell my clients is what is generated when you know you're on the right track. If you're feeling sick with terror and you're bawling your eyes out because you don't want to do something, don't ignore that. But if you're looking at an opportunity that excites you, and it's too scary, make it smaller until it feels a bit more, maybe I could. I take those steps every day. I take at least one action a day that I think, oh my God, this is a bit bold. Maybe it won't pay off. I have a big opportunity coming up in the next couple of weeks, which you will see. And getting that opportunity required me to do everything that I'm talking about today without getting aware of my capabilities and my desires and the potential impact, which is bigger than all of my fears. I would not have taken the action that has got me this massive opportunity. And the person that gave it to me called me feisty. What did she mean by that? She meant I was consistently persistent. She saw the clarity in what I said. She saw the quality in my book, and she gave me the opportunity that I asked for. This was me being brave. This was me being at the edge of my comfort zone. I wasn't outside of my comfort zone in absolute terror. I was at the edge. I was like, okay, I'm still technically in my comfort zone, but this is requiring me to stretch. This is requiring me to get my elbows out and see what more there is. Where's the give? And I felt give, and I thought, well, it hasn't, I haven't strained a muscle. I haven't got myself into terror. The more I elbow my comfort zone, the more excited I'm getting. This must be the right thing to do. That's how you can reason with yourself. If you're having an inner fight with yourself, you're not aware enough yet of everything that I said before. So go back to that point before you take action. Otherwise, you will feel like you're working really hard and everything's a struggle and you're not getting the results that you want. You have to get that awareness first. Well, you don't have to, but you waste an awful lot of time and energy if you don't, put it that way. Are you proud of, and this is what always gets people, are you proud of the example you're setting? People are watching you, whether you believe it or not. There'll be people in your workplace. There'll be people in your social circle. There'll be people outside of your social circle. There'll be people who are watching you on LinkedIn, even though they're not commenting and they're not liking. I regularly get people that say, I've been following you for about 2 years and I don't know who they are. Why? Because they never stick their head above the parapet and be visible. So there are people watching you even now. My question for you is the example you're setting right now the one you want to show? Be honest about that. Be clear about that. And if the answer you get is not filling you with excitement, it's filling you with a bit of, no, I know I'm playing small. If that's the case, that's okay, but you need to put some urgency in there to shift that. You can shape others' lives. That's why you're here to be a leader. You're here to be the leader you want to see. You just didn't realize it was you. And this is how you do it. Find something that you feel passionate enough to speak up about. Elbow the edges of your comfort zone to see what more is there. Where's the give? And be proud of who you're showing up as. I know that every day when I do things that I feel are slightly uncomfortable, that someone else is benefiting. Why do I know that? Because now I do it so often that at least once a day I get feedback to say, thank you so much for that. You really helped me because of this. That is enough to keep me going because I know I'm on the right track, and you will have the same thing. If you don't take a stand for yourself, value yourself, other people won't value you either. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about examples. Nor will you teach them to value themselves. It's bigger than you. You cannot sit in your apprehension and your fear with a blank canvas waiting for you to paint it if you want to be a leader. The benefit of a canvas is art can be abstract. It is in the eye of the beholder, and only the artist knows what they intended. That sounds like it's a powerful quote, but I just came up with it. This, however, is a quote from my book. So just consider that. It's about the impact. And the way you do that is you take 100% responsibility. You don't let other people paint your canvas unless you specifically ask them to. You need to unclench. There's a funny story about this in my book. What do I mean by that? I mean, stop gripping so tight. The tighter you grip to how things are, the less open you are going to be to what could be. I'm not going to labour that point, but just picture this. Unclench. And go first. You know, when you're in a webinar, for example, and you haven't put your question in the Q&A box yet, go first. What's the worst that can happen? Your question gets ignored. I don't understand it. I don't answer it properly. Actually, I'm taking responsibility for those things because I take responsibility for making sure I've done enough to generate the questions. I'm taking responsibility for making sure I answer them well so that you get a win. Do you see the difference? There's no risk in going first, because when you take full responsibility, you know the power of that. When you're the person that says, yeah, I'll do it, when you're the first person that asks a question in an audience, everyone else is thinking, oh, thank God. No one wants to be in that audience when no one puts their hand up. Be the gift to all those people and put your hands up. It doesn't have to be a clever question. It has to be from the heart. It might even just be I don't have a question, but I wanted to say how much I enjoyed that talk. Do you know how much the speaker will be moved by that comment? So in your head, in your fear, you're thinking, I've got to think of a clever question. I must think of a clever question. No, you don't. You just have to get out of your head and take action and go first. Why? Not only because you'll be a great leader for other people, but when you leave that room, you know you took an action towards you being a bigger version of yourself. Not a different version, not a better version, a truer version. And why do we do all this? Well, it's to make that contribution, to make that impact. So I'm going to conclude shortly. So if you haven't asked a question yet, I know I'm labouring this point now, ask it now. This is particularly applicable, this question, to the time that we're in. Maybe when you started lockdown, you were in shock. Or maybe you thought, I'm going to make this a really productive time of my life. Personally, I decided this is the perfect opportunity to use all of the time I would have spent on commuting and traveling to exercise every day. I have now got the beach body I wanted, even though my beach holiday's been cancelled. Why? Because I made a commitment. I have awareness that when I commit to exercise, it pays off for me. Every day when I didn't feel like it, I reconnected with, why am I doing this? Why is it important to me? Bottom line, it wasn't about the beach body. It was about feeling good about myself. Why was that important? Because I've been sitting in my house all day, every day, like I'm sure you have, and feeling the way I feel about myself matches that slide that I put up at the beginning. Those things could have diminished if I'd let my mindset do that. But I didn't. Why? Because I have an awareness of the things that keep me being me. And even though times are tough and my emotions have been up and down and sideways, like I'm sure yours have too, I've stayed committed to taking brave actions every single day. Launching a book in lockdown could have been a disaster. It is purely because of this model and me walking my talk that was successful. Why? Because I didn't want to just survive lockdown. I wanted to transform during lockdown, maintain who I am, but transform what could be possible, leveraging opportunities like this to speak to you that I might not have got before. So ask yourself if you're surviving or transforming. And right now, focus that question in this moment. It doesn't matter how you've handled it up until this point. You're looking at where you are now and where you want to go. You're not berating yourself for where you might have been. So talk about where you're going. When you meet people, when you network, when you go to dinner parties, talk about the vision forwards. If you talk about where you are now, chances are what you're really talking about is the journey you've come from and the baggage that you're bringing. The way that you talk about yourself now, if you have a forwards vision, will be different to how you talk about yourself in an hour. Why? Because you're more aware than you were an hour before. You hopefully will have done something brave to stretch yourself, which means you have new information with which you can make a bigger contribution. And final comment on this, I think, or maybe there's another slide. Are you giving things a chance? I don't know if you've seen that image. I should have put it in here, really. It's the caveman with the pickaxe, and he's been obviously picking at this cave for a really long time, and the image is him walking away, and there's the tiniest amount of rock left. Don't be the person that quits prematurely. The example I use in my book is cancer. People aren't going to say, well, you know, we've been trying long enough, maybe we're just not going to find a cure. No one's ever going to do that. They're going to keep going until they're finished. They're not going to stop researching until they find a solution. And when they find one, they'll start looking for a better one. Be that person. You're not going to have that level of, let's call it stamina, if you haven't done your awareness at the beginning. If you haven't built a track record of self-trust through continually taking slightly braver steps. And like I said before, they're not scary leaps. They're tiny stretches of your comfort zone. But if you've been doing that and you follow this model, you won't quit. Why? Because you'll understand the impact of you doing that personally on your own mindset and the damage that it could do, but also on all those people that are watching. They're all waiting for you to step up. Short-term fixes do not make a big contribution. They tape over what you believe about what's already happened. If you're going to look forwards, then you can't merely cope. Coping is a strategy to stay where you are and remain clenched. That's not inspiring to people, but it also takes away their opportunity to develop. So in summary, I could say it's not all about you. As a leader, you have everything you need, but the impact, the contribution that you want to make is bigger. So don't quit. Ask for what you want, because what you focus on becomes what you teach other people about you. You're modeling behavior that everyone else is watching. So what you focus on indeed becomes your brand. Get your questions ready and remember what I said at the beginning. You cannot lead other people until you have first led yourself. It starts with you and the gold mine of talent that you are standing on right now. You've got everything you need right now. You just haven't packaged it up and marketed it in the right direction yet. It comes from how you show up. That is how you inspire, and it's how you engage. And in the time that we're in, increasingly that engagement is online. So decide today to get to know and leverage who you already are, and trust that it is enough. So, excuse me, if you know you won't do this on your own, there are things I can do to help you, whether you've read the book or not. If you've read the book, use the book as a reference guide. If you haven't read the book, read the book. There is a free download which might help you identify some of the patterns that you're choosing because you've got nothing better to focus on. If you need help with that, it will illuminate where the problem is, and it will tell you a quick action that you can take to become a bit braver in relation to that area. It probably won't work with a corporate email though, so use your personal email with that. If you want to dip your toe in and see what working with me might unlock, I am running a day retreat in September, a 1 day in that beautiful forest. There is only one place left though. And if you're ready to invest in coaching, you can set up a call with me and talk about that. It doesn't cost anything, but it is for people who are ready to make the change now. So if you've got that urgency and that fire, but you have no idea how to build this picture for yourself, that part's my job. That part I take 100% responsibility for. But the exciting bit here is that I would love to gift a signed copy of my book to anyone who connects with me on LinkedIn and then tags me in their number one takeaway. I've given you a lot today. Hopefully I have done what I said I would, which is unlocked some new thinking, held a mirror up that you might have winced to look in, but I've given you some explanations as to why certain things might be happening. And I would love the feedback. I would love to see what your number one takeaway is. And I want to be moved. I don't want an intellectual response, because intellectual responses don't have as much impact as the ones you connect with in your heart. So connect with me on LinkedIn and then tag me in your number one takeaway. And the one that I am most moved by will receive a signed copy of my book.